Welcome, my 311 subscribers, everyone who hasn't given up on AEW yet and is reaping the rewards for this year for your loyalty. Welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite for the January 18th show. Let's begin. So, to start the show, shockingly, we don't get any Jay Briscoe. We just get a graphic and then we head on right to the first match. So I'm sure Tony Khan tried his best, but those fucking Turner executives, those HBO Discovery people, the people who are responsible for Velma, as well as, I can't really judge Discovery yet, but with what we're getting on YouTube, like, why do we even need Discovery? I think Tony Khan should have tried harder. He should have, taken hits or something. Anything just to honor this, legend in indie wrestling and in tag team wrestling. You know what? In wrestling. But instead, we're gonna get this, tribute show on Honor Club. It's gonna be, an hour long. It's gonna be like an episode of Ring of Honor. But I don't want to pay for Honor Club. Apparently, it's free. I hope the service doesn't charge me for just, logging in. And I don't think so. I don't think it works like that. I tried it, a long time ago, and it was bad. I hated Honor Club. The TV shows were delayed for a couple of months, but this time I think it's live, but I don't know how it's gonna go live because I've never seen a live Honor Club show before. I don't know where to click, but it's gonna be up on YouTube, so I might watch there instead. And I'm gonna review that. I'm gonna definitely review that. So yeah, let's start with the first match, which is Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal for the All-Atlantic Championship. So, throughout the show, the Ring of Honor guys, or the former Ring of Honor guys, the ones closest to Jay Briscoe, all wear, armbands. For everyone, it's Jay on it. But for Jay Lethal, who's also named Jay, it has Briscoe on it. And yeah, makes sense. So yeah, great move to not confuse people. Glad they thought about it before they did it. Because how bad of a look would it be if, Jay Lethal would wear, a J armband. J might be superstitious or something, but most likely it's to avoid confusion. So this match, essentially, is the standard evenly matched start, heel takes control, slows the match down, babyface comeback, and then the win. With, some fun modifiers. Because, not only does Jay Lethal look extra motivated in this one, I've never seen him, this ready to wrestle since his match against Samoa Joe. But we also have the rule in where if anyone from his faction, be it Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, or Satnam Singh, interfere in the match, then Sanjay Dutt would get fired. So yeah, his faction are seated in the front row. They kick out some plants. For the whole match, Sanjay Dutt is trying to hold off his faction from getting him fired. And to even add to this, just for the lols, Danhausen, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta tried to agitate the faction even more to get Dutt fired. So this whole thing at ringside totally dominated the match. I don't even remember the first half happening. It was all this. And then we get to what I described earlier, so heel takes control, slows the match down, but then we get spot of the match, and this is Orange's comeback, and it's Lethal trying to go for the Macho Man elbow, but Orange just rolls out of the way. Lethal tries to find the right turnbuckle. He could have just went straight for Orange, but he's an arrogant heel. He's gonna try to do things his way. And then I like that after this, it's just an outfoxing routine. Top 3 spot of the match is Jay Lethal's fake punch to a suplex that Orange counters to a stun dog. And then the climax sequence is top 2 spot. And it's a diving something by Orange. Jay turns into a lethal combination. Lethal goes for the lethal injection. It's countered to an Orange punch. Lethal counters again to hit the lethal injection, but Orange rolls out. And this just escalates even farther when Danhausen steals Jeff Jarrett's guitar and finally plays it. He plays a song for Paul Walterhausen. This distracts Jay Lethal enough. Roll up, Orange punch for the win. So this match for me was very fun. They managed to do different things to keep it from being this average run-of-the-mill American wrestling match that we often see with Jay Lethal these days. Jay was extra motivated here, and then just the shenanigans elevated the entire like fun quality and my rating of the match. So this is like TV main event, pay-per-view undercard. The post-match I think is unnecessary. It's funny, but again, unnecessary because they almost come to blows. Singh almost kills everyone, but Dutt stops him. Dutt then almost breaks the rule, but then they all manage to control themselves. It's all very awkward, this post-match. You could have just had them leave, or maybe just like get back Walter Hauser's Golden Globes. That might come further down the road, but if not here in California, I don't think it'll ever be returned in kayfabe back to the winner. Back to Paul Walter Hauser. Poor dude. So after this is the Kushida versus Darby like video package for the main event. It's there to explain who Kushida is, his motivations, his achievements, who he's beaten. Dude beat Kenny Omega once. This is like all good and stuff. Like we needed this back in Forbidden Door. Was one of like the main criticisms, and I like that they addressed it. But audio from here up to the next match is like broken. It's all staticky and I had to turn the volume down. So yeah, alright, but audio really fucked up. And for the next match, so Top Flight versus the Young Bucks. So audio problems continued throughout this match, so like fight broadcast. Terrible audio. I had to turn the volume down, but then like about mid-match, audio sort of corrected itself. And this one really proved Cornette fans wrong, I think, with their stupid narrative that the Young Bucks don't put anyone over and that the Bucks are just spot monkeys. It's a stupid narrative, and I posted something about this in the Reddit, in the AEW Reddit, where I had like one epic response to why there is this narrative right here. So Young Bucks come out with the armbands, and this time it has Jay on it, and a lot of kissing the armbands here. We maybe have the team that worked with them the most recently. Who's in the card? Because as we know, back in Ring of Honor, Bucks and Briscoes feuded a lot. They feuded for the ROH belts, they feuded for the New Japan belts. Times were good back then. But now we have to keep our eyes forward. There's a new crop of tag teams, like the Acclaimed, the Guns, Top Flight, who are there to like relieve some of the pressure from our stars back in the 2010s. And this win over the Young Bucks might be their biggest one yet. And they achieved what I think they've been trying to achieve for like months now. And that's to put over Darius Martin, to put him on the same level as Dante. And I believe in this match. What he did, his hot tag, and him picking up the win. Finally did it. So the match was very free-flowing, like continuous offense, but not to the point of it being Cirque du Soleil or it being a show stealer. Like, this might be the slowest Young Bucks match that I watched, because against the Lucha Bros, the Bucks are high octane all the time. Gear is up to number 5 for the whole match, but here they slow it down, they cut the ring in half. It's like what the Cornette fans want, and what I wanted from them as well. I wanted them to prove themselves, to like show us that they can wrestle any pace, that they're not just like one-speed wonders. Is that a correct phrase? But yeah, like my stills here aren't going to do the match justice. It's not going to explain what happened, like as much as if you watch the match yourself. Like when I say free-flowing, like when Nick kicks Darius outside, and like in an ordinary match, he wouldn't go for that. He would go for Dante instead. Or like the one, like I think right after this, when Dante sets Nick up for like an outside dive, camera focuses on Dante, then like out of nowhere, Matt Jackson just interferes. And it's stuff like this that happens when I say free-flowing. The tag team rules are just like adhered to, like very much, like more than usual in AEW. And so much more than in New Japan. Because in New Japan, it's just like a tornado tag team match. Here, people stayed in their corners. So if we go by like adherence to tag team rules, Noah is the most adherent. And then AEW and then New Japan. And is it just me or is Matt looking a bit more buff than usual? Like compared to Nick, he's definitely become a lot more like bigger. So heel domination phase, it was awesome. We had spit fights, but there's one spot during that spit fight that Darius spits out his gum and Nick Jackson picks it up from the floor and eats it. What the fuck? Negative spot of the match. Disgusting. And a very grounded Young Bucks, like cutting the ring in half. Like simple spots. Like Dante trying to escape by like doing a flip. And then the Bucks just like pull Darius out of the corner. And as for the Darius hot tag, I'm gonna have to put that in like number 1 spot of the match because dude does a Spanish fly and then an outside dive right away. So the climax of the match is when Top Flight go for the finisher, and it's like pretty unique. I'm gonna have to put this at number 2 spot of the match. It's like a Darius powerbomb and then Dante does a moonsault to like a reverse DDT. And yeah, I think I'm gonna switch it up a bit because the pin break here is just like at the last moment, and this is gonna get top spot of the match. Yeah, Darius's hot tag is number 2, and number 3 spot of the match is the Doomsday Device. It's the Briscoes finisher. It's a tribute move. They hit it, but Dante breaks it up, and then his head gets super kicked off of his body. When he does like his high air sort of dive, then he's like double super kicked. The finish is a BTE trigger that's missed. The Bucks knee each other. Dante throws Nick out and then rolls Matt up for the win. This is how you make Darius look strong, because the dude overcame both the Bucks. Dude thwarts their double team finisher and then takes both out, pins the other one for the win. Great match. And they don't botch for the whole thing. Pay-per-view undercard. So obviously we're gonna get a trios match between AR Fox and Top Flight against the Elite, where the Elite will win and the Cornet fans will complain. The Bucks are such politicers and spot monkeys. Even if they put over Top Flight. Yeah, fuck you. So after this is like a promo battle between the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys that sets up for a feud. So it's only been a couple of months since these two teams locked horns, and I think this might be it for the Acclaimed. Since in this segment, the Guns are more annoying than usual, a lot of screaming in their promos, a lot of whining, but the content was good. Because they accuse the Acclaimed of stealing their dad. As well as they're trying to like take credit for everything that happened. They're trying to take credit for the Acclaimed's fame. So the Acclaimed come out to respond. Austin Gunn just yells on the mic. It's terrible. It's like a fork run through a plate, or like styrofoam being rubbed on each other, or nails on chalkboard, whatever you want. Thankfully his mic gets shut off, and then Max Caster delivers one of his like most mid-raps ever. It's just like the usual Biden joke that I don't get. No line stands out at all. So you know what? Scratch that. It's not mid. It's like actually bad. The Acclaimed are starting to fall off. They like start shit with the Guns, and it's not the Jedi way. It's not how the Acclaimed got successful. They never lost their cool. And plus Daddy Ass is even trying to like break them up. He sets up like family therapy. And I think this is it for the Acclaimed. This is how their first title run ends. And I think they can still go like one more match against the Bucks. But the Bucks are kind of occupied as of now. So I might actually think family therapy works. It's gonna get Daddy Ass back to the Ass Boys. And he's gonna help them win the tag team championships. Yeah, I think the Ass Boys are gonna win the belts. In shocking fashion at the pay-per-view. Or you know what, even like before that, they can drop it in like a special Dynamite, maybe named Last of Us. AEW Dynamite, Last of Us. But yeah, they're gonna lose it, and then the Ass Boys are gonna drop the belts to FTR. That's what I see playing out. And that's FTR choose to come back. It's either that or they go back to Vince McMahon. Right on time. But I don't like this family therapy segment that they're setting up. Like the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys have not let me down yet. But this one, there's a high miss rate for segments like this. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not cringeworthy or like derails both teams' momentum. So after this is the Hangman Page promo that we should have gotten before their match. Like him and Renee. But this is more closure, I think. This is more of like a feud ender. Since Mox doesn't come out, he doesn't give his reply, he's pretty much out. Like Renee has to be his proxy. She puts over Hangman Page. This was very emotional, but I think this should have been followed up with, like specifically, what Hangman Page will do next. He just says that he's gonna mend fences. That can mean either two things, so it's either Dark Order or the Elite. And I think it's Dark Order. I think they're gonna go up against Kenny and the Bucks at the pay-per-view. We're gonna get Dark Order versus the Elite 2. And both teams are gonna get destroyed by the House. Even if I think House of Black are far above the level of like 6-man tag team champions, I'm feeling they're gonna get it. Or, you know, just like have Dark Order win. Or even better, Hangman Page joins House of Black. That's gonna be sick. But yeah, That's too far-fetched. That's probably not gonna happen. So yeah, this was pretty much just like Mox's "you did good, kid" sort of moment. There's a reconciliation that happens. It's a great way to end the feud, but it could have been done better. So after this is Jake Hager versus Ricky Starks. So this match was pretty much a lesser version of the match he had with Jericho, but the big man, small man dynamic is more emphasized. A lot of entertainment with some masterful ringside work by 2.0. Like, they might have been the best part of the match. They just need to improve in ring and then they can be tag champs. So yeah, I'll start first with the things I loved about the match, and it's Jake Hager not falling for Starks' old school. Because Starks does the old school, like, he walks on the ropes, he does a dance, it's very prolonged. It's actually one of his worst spots in my opinion. But I'm glad that Hager, like, pulls him off. Like, he's the bigger man, he should be able to do it. I like the ringside work by 2.0. A lot of trash talk from Daddy Magic, as well as, like, setting up the outside for various spots that don't end up happening. Like, they set up a table, but no one goes through it. Like, we have a great moment where Starks throws Ange on the table, but it doesn't break. But that's pretty much the extent of it. And now for the bad. So first is the botch, where Starks, like, dives through the bottom rope, but then he gets caught, limps, and then they manage to, like, cover it up a bit with that boot. That's absolutely the right move, but something bad could have happened here. And it was, like, visibly a botch. Hager did nothing to cause this to happen. So next is that terrible comeback spot. The hammer fist. Starks delivers these, like, weak-ass looking childish hammer fists that are just terrible. Like, go for punches. Hager's a big dude. This ain't gonna work. But he does make up for it, like, a bit later on with 2.0. And then finally we have the finish, which is the same one. The same one in his match against Jericho. And I think that really contributed to how bad this match was, because we already saw the conclusion. We already saw the hero beat out the main bad guy. He's won over Jericho, so that means he's already won against the faction. Like, that should have been the end of it. But now we're just, like, prolonging this thing. Like, he should have gone through Garcia and Guevara first. He should have gone through 2.0 before Jericho. But yeah, losing interest as this one goes on. So yeah, this match does not have any spots of the match in it. TV undercard. I didn't have fun with this one. So after this is the Adam Cole return video package, and it's just to, like, recap what happened last week. I think he should have showed up here. We should have cut time from the Ricky Starks Jake Hager match and just had Adam Cole cut a promo, preferably about Jay Briscoe. It could be that he's too, like, broken up about it. Could also be, like, poor foresight, poor booking. This one just literally recapped what happened last week. Nothing segment. So after this is the JAS promo, where he sets up a match between Les Sex Gods against Andretti and Ricky Starks. So for me, Chris Jericho was like the background character here. The true stars of the segment were Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia, because Garcia wants to take Sammy's place, and Sammy, like a scumbag senpai or like a workplace superior, takes credit for this. He treats him like a little brother. He hugs the guy. Garcia is having none of this, but he has no choice. He's been assigned under Sammy, so honestly, what can he do? But then Sammy, I don't know if it's like a troll, if it's gonna end up with, like, Sammy actually meaning good, or it's just him fucking with him, but he offers up his spot in the match if Garcia wins against Andretti on Rampage in leather tights. So yeah, this is obviously going to play into the loss, and it's just gonna bring further divide to this faction. And yeah, I kind of get where Garcia is coming from, because what has Sammy done recently? Like, honestly, Sammy tried to beat Chris Jericho for the ROH title, and just because of seniority, he's being put down. And as for Garcia, he was like a big catalyst in the feud against BCC. Like, him betraying his childhood hero, Bryan Danielson, like, really fucked that faction up. Garcia has done more. He's proven himself to be, like, more loyal, to be, like, the better son to Chris Jericho. And yeah, I think this is more interesting than the storyline with Starks and Andretti, honestly. But they're gonna pick up a couple of more losses, and then I think a loss in the tag team match. But hopefully Jericho gets his win back. So yeah, this is candidate for segment of the night. So yeah, my prediction is it's gonna be Les Sex Gods over Garcia Co. And so after this, we have Bryan Danielson versus Bandito. This was no doubt match of the night, and it's better than the Konosuke match. They don't botch here, and we get some great technical wrestling all throughout. The Konosuke match is a hard hitter, and this one is a techniker. Bit too much gun taunting. Like, Bandito, don't let him steal your taunt. Just fuck him up. It's much less fight. Like, I don't really feel there being a fight feel to the match. It's a wrestling contest with some high-flying moves later on, but they stick to the technical wrestling. Danielson plays the heel, he slows down the match, but not Moxley levels of like molasses slow. If you watched AEW last year, you would know. I like them going for different holds, them doing like a submission out of it, and then a pin, and then this like number 3 top spot of the match, which is like a sex position. That's very cool looking. Like at the start, it's really cool looking, but then it turns into a more sexual sort of situation than it has any right being. Danielson escapes by like headbutts. The delayed vertical suplex by Bandito, I think it's kind of overrated because we already know how this one works. And it's like Danielson's hand being on Bandito's leg. And that's really how suplexes are done. And I think Claudio can pull this one off, but like Bandito by himself, like holding people up this long, he could like barely hold Danielson long enough. Not a very good spot. I think he should have went for more high-flying moves at this point, like his tornillo. He just gets so much spin on it. It's probably going to be top spot of the match. And then number 2 is the noodle agar or something. The noodle agogo something. Just this one right here. And as for the climax, it's when Bandito attempts for the 21 plexes, some kickouts. Bandito strikes on the turnbuckle were just a bit too soft. The ending is a bit awkward because they like stop in front of each other to like process things, and then they do the finishing sequence, which is like they run through each other and then the Busaiku knee for the win. So yeah, finish a bit awkward, but the whole match was really fucking good. This is like pay-per-view semi-main event level. It's almost there. If the botch didn't happen last week, that match would have been better than this one. But because of that botch, this match is better. And so post-match is like just a run-of-the-mill MJF promo, but this one is pretty promising because he literally promises to like up his game. He's gonna turn things up a notch. Danielson has 5 more matches, and I think it's gonna elevate every 2 of them. There's like a dragon monster thing, but the point is he's gonna go the extra mile, like he does in a segment a little bit later in the night, which I'm just gonna do right now. And I think it's like candidate for top segment of the night, but JS just like ekes it out a bit. So first, the negative is that I thought Prince Nana was a prince, but he concerns himself with the money that MJF says that is more money that they've seen like ever in their lives. And Nana like confirms it basically. That's just a little thing that bothered me about this, is that Prince Nana is not really a prince, but it's a very, very small nitpick. But the performances from Brian Cage especially, it's not his like usual promo where it sort of sounds monotonous. This time he's motivated. MJF like slaps the shit out of him, and tension was palpable. It was in the air. Renee like ran off when this happened. And then Cage almost destroys MJF. Might be the best Cage segment like so far. And we're gonna see like the next stage of an MJF feud. This is when the shit starts. Man is finally gonna try harder. Hopefully no more low-hanging fruit or like racist or like borderline racist comments. We're gonna get the devil. So obviously, Cage is gonna lose. But I hope it's via disqualification. I want it to be like a domination. Or like Danielson barely wins, but he has to get taken out. And then you know what? Maybe at match number 7, how cool would it be if it's Wardlow? If somehow MJF gets a reluctant Wardlow to face off against Danielson. I'm so excited, holy shit. But again, speculation, that's not gonna happen. It's just how I would do things. So yeah, nice first 2 matches. I don't know how he's gonna top this. Next week is gonna be a different dynamic altogether. And it's gonna be a banger, of course. But is it gonna top the first 2? Maybe the Takeshita match? Not this one. So after this is the Saraya and Toni Storm heel turn that comes out of nowhere. And I like the execution, it was real good. Like they just deliver this comment about AEW homegrown girls not being like on their level and stuff. This is all they know, they think they're better than us. It's starting this AEW versus WWE sort of women's feud. It's not gonna happen with the men yet, but it's certainly gonna draw eyes for the women. This was a very well delivered promo, and I was like Sheeta. Like my reaction here was like Sheeta throughout the entire thing. Just like shock. Mouth open. Can't believe what I'm hearing. Because last week, Sheeta was supposed to be the heel. Like the setup here is pretty shit. The setup is poor and doesn't make sense. The timing as well. I think if they wanted to go this route, they should have done it last week. They should have like planted the seeds for this. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a chance. This looks like it might be the best women's feud that they've had, like ever. Or that they're going to have, if not messed up. It starts out pretty fire with this promo, but in the match later, it doesn't really like deliver much. Nothing really much happens, which is sad because Ruby and Willow tore it up, and that's who the match is against. It's Toni versus Willow Nightingale. I think they realized how cold this feud was. Like, without Willow and Ruby, who just like tore it up, who were like so over on Rampage. Like, this feud was gonna get outshined. Yeah, I think it's the more interesting direction, but how we got there isn't very good. Execution nice though, like I said earlier. And as for the match, it's Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale, which is the first match in I think will be like a prolonged AEW versus WWE women sort of feud. And I think for now, it would make sense if Britt and Jamie stay the fuck away from this. They've won their feud. They could give less of a shit about this unless they're concerned about like AEW women's division honor. I think they should be the ones to like come in at the end to save the AEW women. I think like pieces have to fall for the originals and they take the place, they win the match, puts them over even more, and then that's when you have the turn. It's gonna feel like the invasion angle or something with the amount of like turns. So yeah, so I think it's gonna be Saraya, Athena, Toni Storm, and Mercedes Moné. And if you want, it's optional, Ruby Soho. But that's kind of hard to do because she just went to war along with Willow Nightingale. You could always have her like take credit for the match since she took that beating, but I don't know, it's not gonna feel right. But yeah, as of now, for the originals, it's gonna be Willow, Sheeta, Soho, and you know what, throw in Nyla Rose in there. Or Riho, who was like the original champion. So yeah, I think the Invader should get the win first. You could have the Soho betrayal, it's gonna be like 5-on-4. They can like take Riho or Nyla out in order to make room for Britt and Jamie. As for the match quality, I can't guarantee it's gonna be good for like everyone. But yeah, if this is the feud they're going, I'm kind of into it. But it needs to feel like a comic crisis. It needs to feel like an anime arc. It needs to be like a threat. Like all hope needs to be lost until Britt and Jamie save the day. So yeah, the match itself was actually pretty decent. Like a lot of assholes on Twitter, a lot of assholes on the internet, just like Wardlow would say, like shat on this match hard. But it was like a free-flowing Willow match, and I think she moves better than Toni Storm. But Toni's style is this like rougher brawler type. The heel turn is confirmed after a slap, and then Sheeta comes out and gets abused, like ordered around by Saraya. Like if I was Sheeta, I would react the same way to how this whole thing was set up. Like what the fuck? We're allies for like months. We've had a match together. We trained together, but now you like screw me over and screw the rest of the girls over. But ultimately this turns into like just a standard match like I described at the start. Evenly matched start, heel dominates, there's a comeback, but then heel cheats to win the match. So top 3 spots. Number 3 is the full Nelson. It works so much more with Toni Storm. I love the full Nelson and might not be that believable to have it this long on Willow, but it works. She's on her knees, so it's fine. Number 2 is the rolling cannonball. That's dodged into a hip attack by Toni Storm. And number 1 is the pounce. The finish is a distraction. Toni goes for the pin, tights pull for the win. They beat the shit out of Willow and then Ruby saves her new friend. And strangely enough, Ruby's wearing the same color scheme as Saraya is. And while this is all happening, Sheeta just watches. Okay, so on second thought, I think Ruby has to turn heel. I want this to be like a psychological manipulation of Willow. And I want Ruby to like dump Willow. Like hard. Like in a mean-spirited fashion. But then I want her to like be the surviving member. Or like the member who's gonna get the pin win at the end. She pins Toni Storm or Soraya, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay, so now for the closing stretch. Women's match is almost always like the semi-main in these shows, so yeah. Next is The Firm versus Jungle Boy. This is like a continuation promo of their feud, and I don't know why this has to be prolonged some more. They already got their win. I don't think this one has any more like legs, unless Big Bill pins Hook. Or like, just have Ethan Page pin Hook. Just have Hook lose. I just want Hook to lose. Come on. But I can forgive it if this is how Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy are gonna like break free from the Firm. I mean, it's gonna like bury the Firm even more. It's gonna make them like the weakest faction in main roster. Like right next to the Factory if they lose again. Yeah, you know what? This is a bad move. Just move them on. Have the Firm win something. And for the love of God, have Big Bill pin Hook. So after this is the promo by Konosuke Takeshita, and I guess this is his new thing. It's saying like really long-sounding Japanese sentences in a very intense fashion and then translating it to English. Or like in this case, which I think is more entertaining, he translates it to something completely different but equally offensive. Because here, according to some Japanese speakers on Reddit, Konosuke says something in the vein of, I'm gonna shove my hand up your ass and use you as a puppet. But he translates this to MJF is an asshole. It's a whole lot darker, and actually like something that wouldn't fly on US TV. But yeah, it gets a great reaction. Ney plays this off pretty well. But in order to be like a top star, he should do like more than this. And yeah, he needs to work on this more. He also says that he's gonna like shadow Danielson, like back him up or something. And he might actually join BCC. That'll be cool. But no, I don't think so. I think Wheeler should be their only youngling. I think this is to like set up a feud between him and Brian Cage. And you know what? Bring in Kamina 37. Since Shunma is playing with pheromones, I could see him bringing in Yuki Ueno and Mao. So yeah, I don't think that's where this is going. I want this to be like a feud for the ROH titles. Kamina 37 against Gates of Agony, but I don't know. It might be just like a 1v1 between Cage and Takeshita, and Takeshita wins. Or like the more obvious route of him facing off against MJF at a special Dynamite at February. So after this is the main event. It's Darby Allin versus Kushida for the TNT Championship. So Kushida is accompanied by some LA Dojo guys, getting the biggest exposure in all of their lives in America. And I think Kushida deserves it after wasting years of his life being shittily used by a Vince McMahon-led WWE. I think he would have done better under Triple H, but that ship has sailed. He's back with New Japan. So this match was a storyteller with some fast technical wrestling that Kushida is known for. And as a result, I think Darby Allin shows off what he can do in this department. He doesn't really do the big bumps that he does until like later on in the end. But the story of the match is Darby's arm that's hunted down by Kushida for like the whole match in pretty creative ways. It's used to soften him up for the hoverboard lock, and Darby fights back with speed, but Kushida like gets his arm all the time. This has to be like the most strategical Darby Allin match that I've seen so far, because he usually faces off against like bigger dudes. So his targets are bigger, he can just like launch himself at them without worrying. He doesn't really face off against like technical wrestlers. And Kushida gave him a run for his money. Like Kushida just bogs him down. It's awesome to see such like a different Darby Allin match dynamic. So yeah, top 3 spots of the match. We have the stunner on the apron that commentators sold as being like worse for Darby than it is for Kushida, because Darby lands on his ass on the apron. And then the sell that Kushida does was really good. Number 2 is the Darby Allin dive that Kushida catches into a Jujigatami. There are more spots like this, but like a lot more minor throughout the match. And number one is the avalanche arm drag. That works so well with the story. So by all rights, Darby should have lost this. Like, he had no more left arm. Kushida went for the right, but not very much. So he could still use this. And Darby just like sold the left arm so well. Like throughout and then until after the match. So he's working with one hand. He's being hoverboard locked in the middle of the ring. It's hopeless, as it should be. Like, the LA Dojo guys even taunt Sting to throw in the towel. But out of nowhere, he gets the Last Supper with one arm and then gets the flash pin on Kushida for the win. Holy shit, this was so good. I think the finish is a bit lacking. It's not as definitive as one would like. But I think this is just the first of like a series of 3. Like, I don't think Kushida's gonna win the title, of course. But I think maybe in Japan. Because Darby's heading to Noah for Muda's last match. And he could make a stop at New Japan. At the Yokohama show, build up like for a match later on. He could like stay there till January the 22nd for the new beginning in Nagoya. Yeah, you know what? We could have the match. Or the more obvious choice will be at the Super Juniors. But yeah, well, one can hope. So this is pay-per-view undercard. It's more epic, but the finish leaves more to be desired. It opens things up for like future encounters. The post-match was pretty funny because it was Kushida trying to offer up this pinky swear for a rematch, but Darby can't lift up his left arm. His right hand is shaking Kushida's hand, but his left just couldn't be lifted up. Consistent selling on offense and after the match. And then like even when Kushida tries to lift up Darby's hand, he tries to raise it to like show respect. Darby can't lift it up. It's too hurt. He's selling. Great job by these two dudes. And what a fire episode of Dynamite. Like, these last few weeks have been like banger after banger after banger after banger, that it makes you wonder when things are going to slow down. But when Danielson is in the show every week, I don't think that's going to happen. For the show that I think is better, I think it's pretty even from last week. Because last week had so many like terrible promo segments. This one made up for that. But in-ring wise, last week was much better. So yeah, that's it for my review. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos. And please, watch my shit.